The enormous ships of the Concordat appeared in Earth's skies one quiet Tuesday morning. They gleamed brighter than the stars, their metal hulls catching the sun in ways that hurt human eyes to look at directly. People around the world stopped and stared upward. Traffic halted. News broadcasts interrupted regular programming. Phones captured shaky footage that spread across the internet in minutes. Inside the lead vessel, Commander Vex studied the blue planet with cold calculation. The Concordat had conquered 17 worlds before Earth, and none had presented any real challenge. Initiate deep scans, Vex ordered. I want complete assessment of their defense capabilities. The data streamed in quickly. Earth's militaries appeared primitive by Concordat standards. Nuclear weapons were concerning but easily neutralized. Fighter jets were laughably slow. Missile defense systems were basic. Their civilization is fractured, reported Science Officer Now. They have hundreds of separate governing bodies. They fight constant wars over resources, ideology, and territory. Commander Vex clicked his mandibles in amusement, typical of pre-unified species, and their environmental status. Self-destructive, now confirmed. Rising temperatures, acidified oceans, deforestation, mass extinction events. They're killing their own planet. Vex had seen this pattern before. Worlds on the brink of ecological collapse were easy to conquer. The inhabitants were usually grateful for intervention, even if it meant subjugation. This will be simple, Vex declared. Send the standard ultimatum. The pacification force should be more than enough. On Earth, panic swept through governments worldwide. Emergency meetings were called. Military forces went to high alert. For the first time in human history, old enemies put aside their differences in the face of an existential threat. The United Global Defense Council formed within hours. Representatives from every nation gathered in a hastily prepared bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. Arguments broke out immediately about how to respond to the alien vessels now hovering in low Earth orbit. "We should strike first," shouted the Russian delegate. "With what?" asked the American representative. "Our most advanced weapons are probably toys to them." "We need to communicate," insisted Kim Ji-won, South Korea's top diplomat. At 42, she had negotiated peace between warring factions in 3 separate conflicts. Her calm demeanor and quick thinking had earned her respect worldwide. The room fell silent as she continued. "We need to understand their intentions before we act." "Their intentions seem pretty clear," muttered someone. Ji-won shook her head. "Never assume. First rule of diplomacy." After heated debate, the council voted. Ji-won would lead Earth's first contact team. General Park Do-yeon, a decorated military strategist with a reputation for unconventional thinking, would serve as her security advisor. "I don't like this," Park said as they prepared for the transmission. "You'll be speaking from a position of weakness." Ji-won straightened her jacket. "Sometimes appearing weak is a strength, General." The communication came before they were ready. Every screen on Earth suddenly displayed the same image. A tall, insectoid creature with compound eyes and gleaming exoskeleton. "People of Earth," the translation software rendered in hundreds of languages simultaneously. "We are the Concordat, rulers of the 7th quadrant. Your civilization has been evaluated and found suitable for integration into our empire. Submit to our authority, and your transition will be peaceful. Resist, and your species faces extinction." In the command bunker, people gasped. Some wept. Others shouted in anger. Ji-won stepped forward to the transmission console. The weight of humanity rested on her shoulders, but her voice was steady. "Greetings, representatives of the Concordat. I am Kim Ji-won, speaking on behalf of Earth. We welcome your arrival and the opportunity for peaceful dialogue and cultural exchange between our peoples." The alien seemed surprised by her composure. There was a pause before it responded. "Exchange. Your species has nothing to offer the Concordat. Your technology is primitive. Your culture is fractured. Your planet is dying. You will be integrated as laborers and resource managers. Prepare your leaders for immediate surrender protocols. Jiwan maintained her diplomatic smile despite the insult. Perhaps we could discuss terms that would benefit both our peoples. Earth has many unique resources and... The alien cut her off with a harsh clicking sound that the translation software couldn't interpret. Negotiation is not offered. You have 24 Earth hours to prepare for integration. Further communication is unnecessary. The transmission ended abruptly. In the silent command center, Jiwan turned to General Park Do-yeon. Her diplomatic mask fell away, revealing a steely determination that few had ever seen. "They've underestimated us," she said quietly. The general's eyes narrowed as he nodded. "Good. That's exactly what we wanted." What the Concordat didn't know, what no alien observer could have detected, was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. After the first confirmed UFO sightings in the 2020s, a secret global initiative had begun. Underground facilities on every continent developed technologies reverse-engineered from recovered alien craft. Orbital defense systems disguised as communications satellites waited in space. Military units trained specifically for extraterrestrial combat stood ready. General Park pressed his hand against a hidden scanner in the wall. A section of the bunker slid open, revealing a massive control room filled with technology far more advanced than anything publicly known to exist on Earth. "Operation Sleeping Giant is now active," he announced. "All section chiefs report status. Around the world, hidden facilities powered up. Weapons platforms emerged from underwater bases. Experimental aircraft rose from desert hangars. Status green across all defense grids," reported a technician. "Quantum shield network at 97% capacity." Jiwan watched as humanity's true technological face was revealed. "How long have you been hiding this?" "Since before you were born," Park replied. The question was never if they would come, only when. On the Concordat ships, alarms suddenly blared. Energy signatures unlike anything in their database appeared all over the planet below. Commander Vex stared at the readings in disbelief. "Impossible. Scan again." "Confirmed, Commander," said a nervous officer. "The humans have technology that was not detected in our initial assessment." Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. Perhaps this pacification would not be so simple after all. The Concordat attack began at dawn. Their ships descended through Earth's atmosphere in perfect formation, targeting major population centers across the globe. Commander Vex personally led the assault on Seoul, confident that humanity would surrender within hours. "Begin the pacification protocol," Vex ordered. "Target their military installations first, then government buildings." The alien ships fired energy weapons that lit up the morning sky with purple light. The beams streaked toward Earth with devastating power. By all calculations, Seoul should have been reduced to ash in seconds. Instead, the purple beams crashed against an invisible barrier. The energy dispersed harmlessly across a dome of shimmering light that suddenly appeared over the city. In his command ship, Vex stared at the readings in disbelief. "What is this?" "Scan that shield." It's using quantum field technology," reported his science officer with obvious confusion. "This is impossible. They shouldn't have this capability for at least another century." Similar reports flooded in from around the planet. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all protected by shields that the Concordat's weapons couldn't penetrate. Deep beneath a mountain outside Seoul, Admiral Lee Sun-ho watched the battle unfold on massive screens. The 58-year-old veteran had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. His underground command center hummed with activity as technicians monitored Earth's defenses. "Shield integrity holding at 89% worldwide," reported a young officer. Sun-ho nodded calmly. "They're testing our defenses. The real attack comes next." On screen, the Concordat ships regrouped, changing formation. Their weapons systems recalibrated, focusing more power on specific points of the shields. "They're targeting the shield generators," Sun-ho observed. "Just as we expected." He pressed a button on his command console. "All stations, Prepare for counteroffensive. Operation Thunderstrike is now active. Around the planet, hidden platforms emerge from the oceans, mountains, and deserts. Dormant satellites in orbit suddenly powered up. Earth's true defense network revealed itself. Launch the EMP satellites, Sunho ordered. Deploy the quantum disruptors. In space, small satellites that had appeared to be weather monitoring equipment suddenly released electromagnetic pulses precisely calibrated to the Concordat ship's energy signatures. The alien shields flickered and failed. Simultaneously, Earth's ground-based quantum disruptors fired, sending beams of coherent energy that distorted the very fabric of space-time around the alien vessels. Several Concordat ships spun out of control. Others found their weapon systems suddenly offline. The perfectly coordinated attack was unlike anything they had faced in 17 previous conquests. On the Concordat command ship, alarms blared. Screens flashed with damage reports. Shields at 40% and falling. Weapons systems offline in sectors 3 through 7. We've lost contact with the Southern Hemisphere Assault Group. The Fleet Master, a decorated veteran of a dozen interstellar wars, slammed his armored claw against the control panel. Impossible. Their technological capability was miscategorized. How could our intelligence be so wrong? Commander Vex's image appeared on the main screen, his compound eyes flickering with distress. Fleet Master, we must retreat and regroup. The humans have capabilities far beyond what we detected. Retreat? Before a primitive species. The Fleet Master hissed in anger, but the data was undeniable. Sound the withdrawal. All ships return to high orbit immediately. As the alien ships pulled back, cheers erupted in command centers around Earth, but Admiral Sunho remained focused. Do not celebrate yet, he warned his team. They will return with reinforcements. We've merely surprised them. In another section of the underground facility, Kim Ji-won worked with xenolinguist Han Minjae to analyze the Concordat communications they had intercepted during the battle. Minjae, with his round glasses and quiet intensity, had studied theoretical alien languages for decades. Their communication patterns reveal something fascinating, Minjae explained, pointing to patterns on his screen. See how their tactical orders always assume success. There are no contingency commands, no fallback positions. Ji-won leaned closer. What does that mean? Their language literally lacks constructions for defeat scenarios, Minjae continued. It's as if they cannot conceptualize failure. Look at these weapon system codes, all offensive, no defensive algorithms for situations where they might lose. Ji-won's eyes widened. That's why they retreated so quickly. They had no protocol for what to do when their attack failed. Exactly, Minjae nodded excitedly. In 17 conquests, they've never needed to consider defeat. Their psychology and technology both have this same blind spot. They brought their findings to Admiral Sunho, who listened intently. So they literally cannot process losing, Sunho said thoughtfully. Their weapons, their tactics, their entire military structure, all built on the assumption of victory. It appears so, Minjae confirmed. Even their ship's power systems don't account for sustained defensive operations. Everything is configured for swift conquest. A slow, grim smile spread across Sunho's weathered face. Then we'll teach them what failure feels like. In orbit, the Concordat ships regrouped. Their commanders had never faced such a situation. The Fleet Master called an emergency council. How did we miss their true technological level? He demanded. They concealed it deliberately, suggested Vex. Their public infrastructure, their visible military, all of it was a facade. But why? Why pretend to be primitive? A science officer spoke hesitantly. Perhaps because they were waiting for us, or something like us. The disturbing thought hung in the air. Had humans somehow known they would come? Had they been preparing specifically for this moment? On Earth, Admiral Sunho addressed the Global Defense Council. Representatives from every nation listened as he outlined the next phase of humanity's response. We've surprised them, but they will return with greater numbers, he explained. Our advantage is this. They don't understand us. They cannot predict what we'll do because their minds don't work like ours. What is our next move? Asked the Russian representative. Sun Ho's eyes gleamed with determination. We do what humans have always done best when backed into a corner. We improvise. We adapt. And most importantly, we surprise them again. In underground factories around the world, production accelerated on weapons systems designed specifically to exploit the weaknesses they had identified in Concordat technology. Volunteers reported to training centers to learn how to operate the new defensive systems. For the first time in human history, Earth was truly united against a common threat. And in space, the stars watched silently as humanity prepared to show the Concordat exactly what they were capable of. The Concordat fleet returned to Earth space 3 days later. This time, they'd brought their full might. Hundreds of warships darkened Earth's skies, dwarfing their initial attack force. Behold the true power of the Concordat, the fleet master announced in a transmission broadcast to all of Earth. Your resistance was impressive but futile. Submit now, or face complete annihilation. In the global defense bunker, Admiral Sun Ho watched the massive fleet with calm eyes. They still don't understand, he said quietly. Shall we activate the lunar defenses? Asked his second-in-command. Sun Ho nodded. Let them get a little closer first. Let them think they have us trapped. The Concordat ships moved into attack formation. Their weapons systems charged, ready to overwhelm Earth's shields through sheer firepower. Intelligence suggested the human defenses could not possibly withstand such an assault. All ships prepare to fire on my command, ordered the fleet master. Target their shield generators simultaneously. No primitive species defies the Concordat. Just as the alien fleet reached optimal firing position, something unexpected happened. Warning alarms blared across every Concordat ship. Energy spike detected from Luna, shouted a sensor officer. The fleet master turned in surprise. The moon? Scan it immediately. Before the scans could complete, the surface of the moon changed. Sections of what had appeared to be ordinary lunar landscapes slid open. Massive installations emerged from hidden underground bases. Professor Yoon Jai, Earth's leading physicist, stood in the main lunar control room. At 56, her brilliant mind had revolutionized humanity's understanding of gravity. Now her life's work would be used to defend her species. Activate the gravity manipulation array, she ordered. Full power to all emitters. The lunar installations began to glow with blue light. Invisible waves of force reached out toward the Concordat fleet. Space itself seemed to bend and warp around the alien ships. On the Concordat vessels, chaos erupted. Ships suddenly weighed 10 times their normal mass. Others became nearly weightless, spinning out of control. Weapons systems misfired as targeting computers failed to compensate for the shifting gravitational fields. What is happening? Demanded the fleet master as his flagship lurched violently. They're manipulating gravity itself, reported a science officer in disbelief. This technology, it shouldn't be possible. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, another surprise awaited. What the Concordat had dismissed as primitive mining operations suddenly revealed their true nature. Communications officer Kang Hyun-woo monitored transmissions from across the solar system in the Earth Command Center. Admiral, the asteroid belt colonies are reporting ready. Tell them to proceed, Sun Ho ordered. Hundreds of asteroids that humans had hollowed out and fitted with engines began to move. Some accelerated toward the Concordat fleet. Others opened to reveal hidden missile platforms and energy weapons. The alien ships, already struggling with the lunar gravity weapons, now faced attacks from multiple directions. On Earth, former enemies worked side by side. In a lab beneath the Ural Mountains, Russian and American scientists finalized their antimatter containment system. Power levels optimal, reported the Russian team leader. The American's targeting system is integrated perfectly. His American counterpart nodded. Let's give our alien friends a proper welcome. They activated the weapon. A beam of concentrated antimatter particles shot upward from the Earth's surface, slicing through 3 Concordat battleships before they could react. In the Himalayas, Chinese and Indian engineers monitored the planetary shield network they had jointly developed. Shield integrity at 95% despite continuous bombardment, noted the Chinese lead engineer with satisfaction. Her Indian colleague smiled. The Concordat clearly never imagined we could work together. While Earth's defenses held strong, the most dangerous mission was taking place aboard the Concordat command ship itself. Kim Ji-won had volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission, infiltrating the alien flagship to gather intelligence. Using a stealth shuttle with experimental cloaking technology, she had managed to dock with a massive vessel during the confusion of battle. Now she moved through its corridors, wearing an adaptive camouflage suit that mimicked Concordat technology patterns. Ji-won found her way to a data center. She connected her quantum decoder to the alien computer system and began downloading their strategic plans. What she discovered shocked her. The Concordat had conquered 17 worlds before Earth, yes, but they had never faced real resistance. Their strategy relied entirely on overwhelming force and the psychological impact of their initial arrival. They had no contingency plans, no defensive fallbacks. More importantly, she found star charts showing the wider galaxy. Earth wasn't alone. There were other species who had resisted the Concordat, who might become allies. An alarm suddenly blared. Ji-won disconnected her device and hid as alien guards rushed past. She made her way back to her shuttle, barely escaping as the Concordat ship began emergency maneuvers. Hours later, she stood before the Global Defense Council, presenting her findings. "They thought we were alone," she told the Unified Command. "They never imagined we'd prepared for them for generations." She showed them the data she had retrieved. The Concordat believes they are the supreme power in this sector of the galaxy. They expected us to be like all the others, frightened into submission by their first show of force. But we weren't, Admiral Sunho said with satisfaction. "No," Ji-won agreed. "And now they're faced with something they've never encountered. A species that not only fights back, but has been preparing specifically for this moment." The truth was extraordinary. After the Roswell incident in 1947, world governments had secretly begun preparing for extraterrestrial contact. The Cold War had been partly a cover, allowing massive resources to be channeled into space defense technology without public knowledge. By the 2000s, humanity had established hidden bases throughout the solar system. The International Space Station was merely the public face of a much larger space presence. Mining operations in the asteroid belt concealed military installations. The Moon's far side housed gravity weapon research facilities. Even the missions to Mars had secretly established defense outposts. They never saw our true capabilities because we never revealed them. Sunho explained to the Council. Every public satellite launch included classified payloads. Every space mission had hidden objectives. On the main screen, they watched as the Concordat fleet struggled against attacks from multiple directions. The aliens had expected to face a single planet. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy entrenched throughout the solar system. "We should press our advantage," suggested the Chinese representative. "Launch a counterattack while they're disorganized." Admiral Sunho nodded slowly. "Yes. It's time humanity showed the Concordat that we are not merely defending our world." His eyes narrowed with determination. "We are defending our solar system. And soon, we will take the fight to theirs." In space, the battle continued. The Concordat fleet, for the first time in their long history of conquest, began to retreat not as a tactical maneuver, but in genuine fear of defeat. The stars themselves seemed to witness the unprecedented event, an inferior species driving back the mighty Concordat. And somewhere in the vast darkness between those stars, other watching eyes took note. Humanity was proving to be something exceptional indeed. The emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council stretched into its third hour. Representatives from every nation watched intently as Admiral Sunho outlined his bold plan. "The Concordat expects us to remain defensive," he explained, pointing to holographic displays of the solar system. They believe we will wait here, protecting Earth, while they gather a larger invasion force. So what do you propose? Asked the German Chancellor. Sun Ho smiled. We attack them first. Murmurs filled the room. The idea seemed crazy. Earth had successfully defended itself, yes, but launching an offensive against an interstellar empire. With what fleet? Asked the Canadian representative. We have defensive platforms and lunar installations, but nothing capable of interstellar travel. Sun Ho nodded to his aide, who changed the holographic display. Suddenly, Mars appeared in detail. The red planet rotated slowly, and then sections of its surface became transparent, revealing massive underground facilities. For 50 years, we've been building in secret, Sun Ho explained, not just on Mars. The display shifted again, showing Saturn's largest moon. Titan has served as our primary shipyard, Sun Ho continued. The methane atmosphere provides perfect cover from long-range scans. We have a fleet of 200 warships ready for immediate deployment. Stunned silence filled the room. Even many of the military representatives had not known the full extent of humanity's secret space program. How was this kept hidden for so long? Whispered someone. Compartmentalization, replied Sun Ho. Each nation knew only pieces. Only this council, formed after the Concordat's arrival, has the complete picture. The vote was unanimous. Earth would take the offensive. 3 days later, humanity's hidden fleets emerged from their camouflaged bases. From Mars, sleek destroyers with experimental warp drives rose into space. From beneath Titan's orange haze came heavier battleships, their hulls designed to absorb and redirect energy weapons. From Jupiter's moons, stealth vessels designed for reconnaissance and quick strikes joined the formation. Even Venus, its hellish surface hiding cooling stations beneath the clouds, contributed ships specially designed to withstand extreme conditions. Admiral Sun Ho stood on the bridge of the flagship Terra Nova, watching as Earth's armada assembled in the shadow of Saturn. We have the positions of 3 Concordat colony worlds from the data Juan retrieved, said his executive officer. Their home system appears to be approximately 30 light-years from here. Sun Ho nodded. We'll start with their nearest outpost. Prepare the fleet for warp jump. As the human ships prepared for departure, the Concordat remained unaware. Their defeated forces had retreated to lick their wounds, never imagining that their prey would come hunting them. The human fleet dropped out of warp near a small Concordat outpost world. The planet was primarily used for mining operations, with a modest defense force. All ships maintain communication silence, Sun Ho ordered. Remember, their tactical computers can't process human creativity. Use unpredictable attack patterns as practiced. The Earth ships moved in formations that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully choreographed. Some appeared to break off randomly, only to reappear from unexpected vectors. Others used micro-jumps to vanish and reappear instantly in different positions. The Concordat defenders were completely unprepared. Their defense grid had been designed to counter conventional attack strategies used throughout the galaxy. Human tactics followed no recognizable pattern. What are they doing? Demanded the Concordat commander as his targeting systems failed repeatedly to lock onto the erratically moving Earth vessels. This makes no tactical sense. His second-in-command stared at the screens in confusion. They're using feints within feints, apparent retreats that become ambushes. Our algorithms cannot predict their movements. Within hours, the outpost fell with minimal damage. The humans made a point of avoiding civilian areas, targeting only military installations. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-won embarked on a different kind of mission. Using the communication code she had stolen, she established contact with other species subjugated by the Concordat. From the diplomatic vessel Hope, she broadcast a message to dozens of worlds. People of the stars, Earth stands against tyranny. For too long, the Concordat has used fear to control you. Today, we show that they can be defeated. Join us. At first, there was silence. Then, gradually, responses came in. The Narians, a philosophical species conquered 80 years ago. The Valurians, whose crystalline technology had been stolen rather than developed by the Concordat. The proud Daxians, reduced to laborers in their own system. "How can we trust you?" asked a Narian representative, their translucent face flickering on the communication screen. "Judge us by our actions," Juan replied. "We target only military assets, not civilians. We offer partnership, not dominance. And most importantly, we've proven the Concordat can be beaten." Across a dozen systems, resistance movements that had long operated in shadows began to emerge. Underground networks shared information about Concordat weaknesses. Workers sabotaged key facilities. Some brave souls even hijacked ships and weapons. On the Concordat homeworld, the Supreme Council faced a crisis unlike any in their 1,000-year history. "How is this possible?" demanded the Supreme Leader, his exoskeleton clicking with agitation. "One primitive species defies us, and suddenly rebellion spreads like disease." The chief strategist, oldest and wisest of the council, studied the reports carefully. "These humans fight like no species we've encountered," he admitted. "They turn weakness into strength. They find opportunity in disaster." "Explain," ordered the Supreme Leader. "Their fractured history, the very thing we thought made them weak, created adaptability. Their constant wars taught them to innovate tactically. Their environmental challenges forced technological creativity. The strategists' compound eyes flickered. Most dangerously, they inspire others. They give hope." As the rebellion spread, humanity established alliances with other species. Technology was shared. Cultural exchanges began. What had started as a desperate defense of one world was becoming a galactic revolution. Admiral Sunho's fleet grew as liberated worlds contributed ships and crews. Each victory made the next easier. Each freed planet weakened the Concordat's grip on power. In a historic moment, representatives from 7 previously subjugated species joined Earth's diplomatic corps aboard the Hope. Together, they drafted the Galactic Charter of Rights, a framework for cooperation that explicitly rejected conquest and domination. "We don't seek to replace the Concordat with our own empire," Juan explained as the document was signed. "We seek a galaxy where every species determines its own destiny." News of this new alliance spread faster than the Concordat could contain it. Worlds that had never contemplated resistance began to question their overlords. Species that had accepted subjugation as inevitable now saw another path. The Concordat, for the first time, found itself fighting not just a war of ships and weapons, but a war of ideas, and it was losing both. As Admiral Sunho's fleet prepared for its most daring mission yet, a direct strike at the heart of Concordat power, he received a message from Earth. It contained a simple line from an ancient human text. "The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice." He smiled, thinking how the stars themselves seemed to witness this truth unfolding. Humanity had risen from a single world to become a force that was reshaping the galaxy, not through conquest, but through inspiration. The combined fleet of Earth and its allies emerged from warp space above the Concordat homeworld. 500 ships of various designs formed a perfect sphere around the planet. They did not fire. They simply waited. The Concordat capital gleamed below, its crystalline towers and massive fortresses built over 1,000 years of conquest. No enemy had ever reached this far. No foreign vessel had ever entered this sacred space. Admiral Sunho stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova, his weathered face reflected in the viewscreen. "Status report," he ordered calmly. "Concordat defense grid is active," reported his tactical officer. "They have over 1,000 orbital platforms and several hundred ships. They're moving to defensive positions." Sunho nodded. This would be the greatest test humanity had faced. The Concordat, backed into their final corner, would fight with desperate fury. "All ships maintain position," he ordered. "Do not fire unless fired upon." On the diplomatic vessel Hope, Kim Ju-won prepared for the most important communication of her life. Representatives from 20 formerly subjugated species stood with her on the bridge. Each had suffered under Concordat rule. Each had reason to seek revenge. "Are you certain this is wise?" asked the Narration ambassador, his translucent skin pulsing with doubt. "We have the strength to destroy them now." Juwan adjusted her formal diplomatic attire. Destroying them would only continue the cycle. We must break it. She activated the transmission, broadcasting on all Concordat frequencies. Her face appeared on screens throughout the alien capital. "Leaders of the Concordat," she began. "I am Kim Juwan of Earth, speaking on behalf of the Allied worlds. Your empire stands at a crossroads." In the Concordat Supreme Council chamber, the alien leaders watched with mandibles clicking in agitation. "They dare to lecture us," hissed one counselor. "Silence," ordered the supreme leader. "Let us hear their terms before we obliterate them." Juwan continued, "We could reduce your world to ash, as you once threatened to do to ours. Instead, we offer something you have never offered others: choice." She gestured to the diverse representatives standing behind her. "We offer cooperation, not subjugation. A new galactic charter based on mutual respect and exchange. Your people may join as equals, not rulers or victims." The Concordat leadership couldn't comprehend this mercy. For 1,000 years, their philosophy had been simple: conquer or be conquered. The concept of cooperation between different species as equals was entirely foreign. "This is some trick," insisted the war minister. "They seek to lower our defenses." The chief strategist wasn't so certain. If destruction was their goal, why position their fleet in a defensive rather than offensive formation? Why bring representatives from worlds we conquered? The supreme leader remained silent, his compound eyes studying Juwan's face for deception. Juwan waited patiently for their response. Minutes stretched into an hour. The tension across the fleet grew. Suddenly, sensors across all ships began registering massive energy readings. Space itself seemed to shimmer and bend. "Unknown vessels appearing," shouted the sensor officer on Terra Nova. Admiral Sunho tensed. "Concordat reinforcements." "No, sir. These signatures, they're unlike anything we've ever seen." Massive ships of what appeared to be crystalline light materialized between the Allied fleet and the Concordat world. They dwarfed even the largest vessels of either force. Their surfaces rippled with colors that human eyes could barely process. "All ships, maintain position," Sunho ordered, fighting to keep his voice steady. "Do not take hostile action." One of the crystal ships moved closer to the Hope. A beam of golden light connected the vessels. Inside the diplomatic ship, reality seemed to bend. The air filled with a gentle humming. Then figures appeared, tall, translucent beings with forms that seemed to shift between solid and energy. "We are the observers," they communicated directly into the minds of everyone present. "We have watched this conflict unfold with great interest." Similar beings appeared simultaneously in the Concordat Council chamber, creating panic among the alien leaders. "Do not fear," the observers communicated. "We mean no harm. We have existed since before your ancestors crawled from the seas of your world." On the Hope, Juwan found her voice. "Why have you revealed yourselves now?" The lead observer, slightly taller than the others, moved closer to her. "Because we have waited eons for a species like humanity to emerge." Both the Allied fleet and the Concordat forces received the same explanation simultaneously. The observers had watched countless civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. They had seen empires like the Concordat come and go, always following the same pattern of conquest and eventual collapse. "But you, humans," the observer continued, "you developed differently. Despite your violent past, despite your many flaws, you found another way." The observers explained that humans possessed a unique combination of traits rarely seen together in one species: creativity born from struggle, unity forged through diversity, and most unusually, compassion tempered by strength. "You could have destroyed your enemies," the observer noted, gesturing toward the Concordat world. Instead, you offered them peace, not from weakness, but from wisdom. In the Concordat Council chamber, the Supreme Leader finally spoke. Why should we trust these humans? Why should we surrender our rightful place? The observer turned to him. Because your rightful place was always a delusion. The universe does not favor conquest. It favors adaptation, cooperation, evolution of mind and spirit. Then, the observers revealed something that stunned both humans and Concordat alike. They projected images of Earth's formation, showing how cosmic conditions had aligned with extraordinary precision to create humanity's home. Even the stars themselves favored your evolution. They explained. The cosmic conditions that shaped Earth were exceptionally rare, a perfect crucible for a species destined to bring balance. The specific arrangement of Earth's solar system, the precise impact that formed the moon, the magnetic field that protected the developing biosphere, all had required such unlikely conditions that it seemed almost intentional. The universe, the observer said, has been waiting for you. In the days that followed, formal negotiations began between the Allied worlds and the Concordat. The observers remained as witnesses but did not interfere. Their presence alone served as a reminder that something greater was at stake than the ambitions of any single species. The Concordat, their worldview shattered, gradually accepted the new reality. Their empire would end, but their civilization could continue, not as conquerors, but as contributors to a galactic community. 1 year later, representatives from 50 worlds gathered on a neutral planet to sign the Galactic Charter. Humans stood alongside former enemies and allies alike. The Concordat delegation, still adjusting to their new role, signed last. As a new era of cooperation began, with Earth at its center, stories spread throughout the galaxy about the strange planet where life had evolved against all odds. About the humans who had turned potential extinction into triumph not through superior force, but through unpredictable creativity and unexpected mercy. Across 100 worlds, in countless languages, a saying emerged that made even the most serious diplomats smile. They thought they could defeat humanity. Even the stars laughed. And somewhere in the vast depths of space, the observers watched with satisfaction as the universe unfolded exactly as it was meant to. The end.